Welcome back to the Tool Crib. Today we are going to be looking at another Victorinox SwissTool Spirit. This one is the Spirit S. This one was actually gifted to me by one of my subscribers, Mr. Manuel Briones. Thank you, sir, very much. I very much appreciate this multi-tool. This is one that I did not yet have in my collection, and it has fast become my favorite among the SwissTool Spirit models. Now, this particular one happens to be in black oxide. And one thing you're going to notice right off the start is that this one does not include a pair of scissors. And for this reason, much like the Victorinox SwissTool, I actually prefer this model over the other models of the SwissTool Spirit. And I'll get into why here in just a little bit. For now, let's get into the specs, and then we'll go through the tool set of the SwissTool Spirit S. One great thing about the Victorinox Spirit models, the Victorinox SwissTool Spirit models, is the fact that they are so compact, and they're relatively lightweight too. This one comes in at 7.4 ounces or 210 grams. Its overall length, let's line it up here on the grid just a little bit so you get a better look at that, is 4 3/16 of an inch in overall length. That's going to translate to 106 millimeters. At its widest point, which will be back here, it's 1 1/8 wide or 28.5 millimeters. And the thickness on the Spirit is 9/16 of an inch or about 14 millimeters. So it is a very compact, condensed multi-tool, if you will, and it provides a lot of punch for that size and weight class. So the first tool that we're going to look at on the Spirit S is the serrated knife blade. Now, this is a little different looking with the Spirit models, how they incorporate their serrated blades. But this thing is incredibly effective, though. So I've got a couple of pieces of just rope here. First one is just a little, I think this is 3/16, just cotton blend, and you can see just how easily it rips through there. Well, let's try something a little tougher, though. This is 1/2 inch poly blend rope. We'll just set it right on the edge of the serrations, get a little grasp on it, and then just one solid swipe through there, and man, does that make a very clean cut. So while this blade looks a little different, it is incredibly, incredibly effective. Next tool that we'll look at is, I tell you what, let me bring my Leatherman Surge out, because this tool in the Spirit models was actually the inspiration for something that I did on my Leatherman Super Surge. And that was to include a couple of the components of this particular tool. And so this is what I did to my Leatherman Surge. I added in the cable cutter, and I added in the chisel, and I took the inspiration for that from this tool. So what we have here is a chisel tip front, which is, I love the fact that Victorinox put chisels on their multi-tools. I think it's a great, great feature to have on a multi-tool. This one also incorporates on the side there. There's a little cut edge there. That is great for box cutting. So if you're going to be cutting like through packaging tape on packages, it does a very effective job of that. It also works somewhat decently on blister packs, though I do prefer a regular blade to get through those just a little bit cleaner. I actually prefer something like the Leatherman Wingman package opener. Now, the tool that I like the most, though, and why I integrated this one into the Surge, is because of that cable cutter. That cable cutter, the first experience I ever had with the cable cutters on Victorinox was actually in one of their knives, the Victorinox Electrician. Now, as the name implies, that is designed to cut through, and I don't have any here handy, but if we'll just use the rope as an example, it'll cut through the insulation of that larger cable, and you can see just because of that curved blade, it really allows a very controlled cut around the sheathing of those cables, and then you're able to strip it off. Very, very good tool that Victorinox includes in their multi-tools. The one below that is a little notch for your wire cutting capabilities, which, while a little bit cumbersome to use, is actually pretty effective. Now, our next tool is the combination. This is your bottle cap lifter. It also integrates a little wire bender down here. Now, that is a function I have never used on the SwissTool Spirit models. Personally, I think it's probably better to use the pliers to do wire bending capability. At least it's probably the one I will reach for first. So I've never actually used that particular function. Then they integrate the large flat driver on top, which can also be used as a pry tool. Then the next tool over is, this is a 2 combination tool. So this includes the reamer awl, and also the package hook is what they call it. So the reamer on here doesn't have that eyelet functionality. Of course, that's not something that I've ever really needed. That's more of a bushcrafting skill, something I don't do. So I've never had the need for the sewing eyelet. But I do have a need for the awl, which I've been using more and more in different multi-tools lately. And this one is very, very sharp, has a nice sharp point on it as well. Now for the package hook, you can actually turn the multi-tool like this, kind of put it in that pistol grip formation. Gives you a little bit more purchase. So if you're pulling on some kind of a line, then it's going to give you a lot better grip. And if we close that one down, we'll get to the last tool on this side. This is the saw blade. Saw blades on Victorinoxes are done really, really well. Now, I recently did a comparison against Leatherman. I actually prefer the Leatherman saw blades just a little bit more, but unless you have them side by side with their Leatherman counterpart, such as the Spirit against the Wave or Charge series, or the SwissTool against the Surge or Super Tool 300, something of that nature, you really cannot tell the difference as to which saw blade is better. So they're very, very, very good saw blades. If we hop around to the other side, next tool is the file. Now, I kind of prefer Leatherman files because I like the diamond file, and that's something that Victorinox doesn't give you. But what they do give you is an incredibly well done file. So this is your single cut file. This is your cross cut file. And on the edge, this is actually a metal saw. So you can see those teeth that are built into that. This thing, and I haven't done it on this particular tool, but I have done it on other Spirit models, is I can actually cut through 1/4 inch solid round stock of solid metal, and it does a very effective job at doing that. Now that's something that Leatherman cannot boast about. The next tool is pretty common to Victorinox. It is their can opener, and it integrates the smaller screwdriver up front. Now the next tool is one that a lot of people like to have. They like to have an integrated number 2 Phillips. And this one provides quite a bit of reach. This one gives you about 1.5 inches of reach. So this is a very good screwdriver. I like it a little better in the black oxide than I do in the regular stainless, because the stainless ones tend to have a little bit of slip give to them. In the black oxide, maybe it's just my perception, but I think that they grab just a touch better in these black oxide versions. Now the next tool is just your standard smaller screwdriver. This one is actually a tool that's also in the Leatherman Surge, and this one really works well as a screwdriver. It also works as a punch down tool on the back of like electrical outlets and stuff of that nature. So that's actually a very good screwdriver to have on there. Then the last tool is their standard blade. Now this one's going to be about 2 3/8 of an inch, but normally I like it just a little bit longer now, at least 2.5 inches on the main blade. But on these Spirit models, it's pretty good, and it's incredibly sharp as well. If we bring in that cordage there, slips right through there. Easy to put an edge right back on these as well. Now you'll notice that all of the tools kind of come out by themselves, and that is because of the way Victorinox does their springs. So you can see each one of those is laser cut through there, so that the spring matches the tool. That way, when you're pulling out any particular implement, you're only pulling out that one tool instead of clumping out. Now, that's a feature that a lot of people like in Victorinox multi-tools. And then we have the pliers. Now, the pliers are a little bit different than what you're going to find in some multi-tools, because they incorporate what I like to call like a hybrid blunt nose. And so here we have the Leatherman Wave Plus. You'll notice that it comes down to a very sharp needle nose point, where on the Spirit S, it is more of that, again, a modified blunt nose. So it's not quite needle nose, not quite blunt nose, but it provides a little bit more metal up the tip, makes them very strong. And while most times in a multi-tool, I really prefer to have a needle nose, this is actually a pretty good plier. And it comes with some nice grip serrations or teeth cut into it that are very, very grippy. Then it has your regular pliers and then your wire cutters. Now, here's the last thing, and really the only thing I don't like about Victorinox multi-tools, and this is true of all of their multi-tools. You notice how it has that second notch there. So if we close that up a bit, you have two notches. You have the one that's nearest the fulcrum, and then you have the secondary, which is up a little higher. Now the one that's near the fulcrum actually works really well if you have larger cable that you need to get through, a little larger diameter. It helps to trap it in there, keep it from slipping out of the cutters, or if you're cutting on hardwire. The second notch I find a little cumbersome. It does not, it gets in the way more than it's useful. So it's designed to be a soft wire cutter, but I would really prefer that they just leave the cut edge straight and only include that first notch. Now there are options to add on with the accessory tools. You can add on a, what am I trying to say? The corkscrew. So you can slip in a corkscrew here, as well as with the accessory tools from Victorinox, you could add on the bit kit, a separate bit kit with an L wrench or with a ratchet as well. Now the reason that I actually prefer the Spirit S over some of the other models, and up top here we have the Spirit X, which does include scissors, is the simple fact that it does not include scissors, because I actually utilize the 4 outer tools on my multi-tools. I like both knife blades. I like to have the saw and the file. And so one tool I'm willing to sacrifice is scissors. And the reason I'm willing to sacrifice it is because scissors can be added in as a complementary tool with a lot of Victorinox knives. And Victorinox makes some of the best scissors out there. Now, the ones that come on the Spirit tools, they're pretty sharp. They're just a little bit limited because of the jaw opening. Where if you, one of my favorite knives that would work really well with the Spirit S is going to be the Victorinox Compact, which has a much larger set of scissors that are incredibly effective. And this one provides, because it has scale or plus scale tools, it provides you some extra functionality you don't necessarily get with other Victorinox knives. So for this reason, and it's the same reason that I prefer this tool, the SwissTool, over some of its other models, is the fact that it provides these 4 implements and eliminates the scissors, which I can definitely add on through a multitude of different size and variants of Victorinox knives. Well, this has been a look at the Victorinox SwissTool Spirit S. It is one of the best. It's too bad that this thing got discontinued. Like I said earlier, I think it was 2017 when this dropped from the line. It's really unfortunate, but if you can find one and you like Victorinox multi-tools, I would definitely recommend this multi-tool. My name is Ben. You've been watching the Texas Tool Crib. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.